Alright guys, so I realize I haven't posted anything about my S2000 for a couple of months now, and I'm sure some of you guys have been wondering what's going on with the car. So here's a little quick update video on the S2000. Obviously, I'm still driving it, so I still have it, but as some of you were very keen to point out moments after I posted it, I did post this car on Craigslist, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago. Because I was looking to kind of test the waters and see what kind of money I could get for this car. And you might be asking, well, why did you even buy the car in the first place? You've only had it for 3 or 4 months. And yes, that is true, but also keep in mind that this is technically my third S2000 now. And I was doing the math, and I've been very vocal about the fact that I hate the suspension on this car. These blade coilovers they're only somewhat passable on the track, but I mean, for everyday driving, which is what I do with this car, 80% of the time, they're just pretty much unacceptable in terms of ride comfort. So I did the math on a set of custom Öhlins coilovers, which would be, from my experience and from recommendations from friends, the best combination of streetable and track-focused coilover out there for the S2000. And I was looking at about $2,500 potentially for a set of Öhlins. So, if I could have sold this car without the Öhlins for, let's say, $14,000, $15,000, I could have used that extra $2,500, added that to the value of this car, and probably just gotten myself into a first-generation Porsche Cayman, or even a 996 911 Carrera. And I figured, well, why would I just keep the S2000 when I could get into an entry-level Porsche, which would be pretty fun on the track, bone stock, and be, by far a more practical and comfortable daily driver. And I was really, really torn between keeping the S2000 and getting a Porsche for the entire span of 3 weeks that this car was on Craigslist. I got a lot of offers for it, some of them very, very close to my target price. But, I turned all of them down, and end of the day, I did the math again, and it didn't quite make sense financially for me to sell this car at a slight loss, considering all the work I've put into it over the past few months, and then get myself into a Porsche, which, yes, it definitely would be a lot better of a daily driver, but as a track car, it's going to be a lot more expensive to maintain, right? I mean, if something goes wrong, even if I just need to replace the rotors and tires, it's going to be a big step up in cost compared to the S2000, especially since a lot of the work I don't do myself. So if I was to take it to a shop, then we're talking about a specialty German shop, which has their own tier of labor rates. So I decided to keep the car, and I decided to invest in some upgrades. Öhlins will be on this car in a couple weeks, and I'm taking this car back to Buttonwillow for a track day on July 29th. And I know some of you guys are wondering what happened after that terrible, terrible third gear to second gear misshift and over rev of the engine that happened at my last track day.
Holy fuck.
So about a month ago, I took the car over to Sake Bomb Garage in Santa Clara. Shout out to Dave. And yeah, I got it compression tested, and the results surprisingly came back really, really strong. The compression across the 4 cylinders was all between 202 and 210 PSI, which, yes, it's a little bit lower than what most people are getting on a really healthy engine, which is more like the 230 to 250 PSI range. But anything above 200 is generally considered pretty good. And of course, different compression testers can have different results. The fact of the matter is the fact that, all 4 cylinders were reading pretty much the same compression, and they were all over 200. I was happy with that result. And the engine pulls strong to redline still, absolutely no issues. I did kind of have a weird, unstable, fluttering idle, like right after the over-rev happened, but after I drove the car home, that issue completely went away. No check engine light, nothing weird whatsoever. The engine feels pretty much like it's supposed to feel. So with that out of the way, yeah, it's time to start getting back into track days. My main complaint with the car, again, was the coilovers. So I'll have that completely addressed once I get the Öhlins on here. So a few details on the Öhlins. They're not just, out of the box vanilla Öhlins with the 10K front spring rate and 8K rear spring rate. I'm actually getting custom spring rates, 14K front, 12K rear, and the shocks are going to be revalved by Öhlins themselves, and then Socket Bomb Garage is going to do all the assembly. And all I got to do is throw the coilovers on the car. Other than that, I'm still looking into getting a roll bar, so I'm open to suggestions for all you S2000 track junkies out there. What's the most cost-effective roll bar that will still allow me to not only have a harness and a bucket seat, but also retain the stock seatbelt? Because since this car is primarily daily driven, I'm not going to want to have to wear harnesses every time I get in the car. That's just a pain in the ass. Also, I do plan on removing the soft top, so that's going to be a consideration too. I don't need anything that's going to retain the soft top or the stock roll hoops back there. Another few updates on the car. I installed a set of WinMax W5 front brake pads. Whatever brake pads were on the front of this car before, I was told they were Project Mu club racers by the previous owner, but I've had a couple people look at it and say those don't look like club racers. So maybe that explains the weird kind of unstable braking performance that I experienced at the track multiple times. The rears, I think, are club racers, so I should be good to go there. And besides that, yeah, the VTEC solenoid is still leaking oil, albeit pretty slowly. I don't know what to do there. I've already replaced it with a used solenoid from AP2. Still leaks. I'm just, topping off the oil every 2 to 3 weeks and just keeping an eye on it. Also, since it is now the middle of summer in California, a lot of the local racetracks like Button Willow, anything down there in SoCal, as well as like Thunder Hill, they're all getting really hot. We're talking about like 110 degrees in the peak of, the day. I have the stock radiator in this car and no oil cooler, and all I have for a temperature gauge is the dummy OEM gauge there for the coolant temps. So if you guys have recommendations for a radiator and or oil cooler, or just maybe the stock setup will do just fine in 110 degree weather, I don't know. You guys let me know, because I've never tracked an S2000 in that hot of weather before. But yeah, stay tuned for more updates on the car. I'll probably do a quick DIY video once I get the Öhlins, just to show you guys how fairly easy it is to install coilovers on an S2000. So more content to come soon with the S2000 as well as the NSX. Focusing mostly on this car because I am going to be putting a lot of time and investment into turning it into a real track weapon. And of course, I'm going to document every step of the way. So stay tuned, and I'll see you guys next time.